How do we engage as teachers when encountering something adversarial?
I think we need to defend, yet not be contentious.
Okay. But what I'm suggesting is that when people are dropping bombs and grenades, there is a strong feeling behind it. And sometimes it's not actually about the grenade itself.
I have read thousands of comments like this, and I can't think of one where it was ever productive.
Why do you think that is? If we are talking about what we can do to invite the spirit, not win, it's going to look a little bit different. And so here are three things that I thought of.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Teaching Restored, where we get to talk all about how great it is to teach the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Kevin Jones.
And I'm Julie Hilliard. Today we're going to take a little bit of a detour from some of our typical topics. And I hope that's okay. Let me explain. So my calling right now is with state communications. And one of the things that is part of state communications is social media. And we have someone in our state who's responsible for our social media page, and she's amazing. Recently, our state social media page, and to give it a little bit of context, we have a temple coming in our area. And so a lot of what we post has to do with the temple. And recently, she's had some adversarial comments come up on the feed. And it's been interesting. And so she, we were talking the other day, and she's like, I've just been defaulting to hiding them, but I don't really know if that's the right response. I don't really know what I should do. Obviously, we want to keep the peace. And she's just like, let's talk about this kind of a thing. And so we've been dialoguing a little bit about how to handle it, right? And so I started thinking about how one of the things that we've been encouraged to do as members of the church is use social media as a tool to share the gospel. So one of the ways that we are teaching might be through online interactions with other people. And unfortunately, the psychology of things happening online is a little bit like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like if you read the chat on some of these things, some of these threads, you will die at the things that people are willing to type that they would never in a million years say to your face.
Right. So true. Respond to it because it's so far out there, right? I mean, so much of it is just, you say it and you're like, you know what? I could explain it to you, but it takes more than to tweet to explain.
Yeah, like it's not even like there's no way to even explain it.
Right.
Yeah.
I would need to dive in a little bit and try to understand what you understand and where you're coming from to try to explain it. But, you're just throwing this grenade out there and it explodes and I'm just supposed to take it. I think that's where a lot of them, I think that's where a lot of them come from. I mean, that's where a lot of them seem like are those grenades more than anything else.
Right. Like maybe people are doing it for shock value sometimes. Would you say that those conversations are typically productive?
They aren't conversations. They're not productive. They're grenades. Grenades are only productive in one way. By the person who throws it. That's it. Unless they pull the pin and forget to throw it, then it has the opposite effect. But
Fair enough. Okay. I think that that's a really good visual description. And P.S. to anybody who is not watching the video, I did put conversation in air quotes, just to be clear. I have very strong feelings about this subject matter. And apparently you do too.
Yes.
So I started, now I'm going to fast forward for just a second. And my son just came home from college and he's getting ready to go on a mission to Argentina. I'm very excited for him. And we were sitting at the table last night and we started to have a conversation. And one of the things that he's been mulling over a little bit is some of the stuff that he reads online that's so adversarial. He's kind of been, what do I even do with that? And then he started to think a little bit about, what do I do as a missionary when those types of conversations come up with people who have different beliefs? You as a missionary become a little bit of a target because you wear the badge. They know you're going to have a gospel discussion. Sometimes people, we've called it Bible bashing historically. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's a great term, but sometimes it's a little bit argumentative when people
Yes.
have strong feelings about their faith and they are wanting to engage in a conversation with you about yours. Sometimes it's a little kind of adversarial. And so he was like, well, what do I do with that? And Mom, what do I do with some of these things that people are saying online? He's like, it makes me crazy because a lot of what they're saying is short-sighted, or it's
Mm-hmm.
ill-informed,
Mm-hmm.
or they haven't done the research. And he's like, I just it makes me so anxious because I feel like I need to do something with
Someone's
it.
at the front door.
Sorry, my doorbell just announced itself that we're ignoring it. So in response to him, I started thinking a little bit about what I wanted to talk about today. And the
Good.
specific topic is, how do we engage as teachers when encountering something adversarial? Now, typically, this is not going to happen in a church setting. It might sometimes, right?
Sure. It's rare though.
But what are
To that degree, at least.
to that degree where people are just psh. But tell me some settings where it might happen where you are, air quotes, teaching.
Missionaries is a great example. On our missions, I'm sure you had it as well. It happened. I went to Utah and ran into plenty of people who wanted to just bash us. That's
right.
That's one. My kids get it all the time at school. Constantly.
Yeah.
These they're grenades, and they don't want to learn. It just here's a grenade, throwing it in, but that's not really a teaching scenario. It's just I'm throwing it out there because, oh yeah, that's right, because you're a Mormon and Mormons do this.
Okay, but pause for just a second. Is it not a teaching opportunity? We are called as member missionaries.
Sure. Oh, it could be, but it's not, it's not something that we typically think of as, oh, now I'm going to turn around and teach them kind of thing.
Okay. You're exactly right. But I want to, the reason I'm pushing you on that is because I want to reframe it slightly.
Okay. Good.
I want to say that those are teaching opportunities, and I want to tell you why in a little bit. So keep going with the list.
I've had it happen to me at work, in the office with people that I know, right? Happens there. Neighbors, happens there.
Okay.
Oh, I can't off the top think anymore.
Let me throw a couple out that might get you brainstorming. What about in a mixed faith marriage?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Could
be.
What about in your home when you have kids who decide that they don't align with your faith?
Within families. Right? Yeah.
Within families. And I think about...
We've had it with extended family a lot, actually.
Yeah. Well, and I remember just this last weekend, I was having a conversation with someone whose daughter has dropped some serious grenades in family conversations. And she's like, I don't even know what to do with that. Right. And they're sometimes doing it specifically to try and have shrapnel hit and wound a lot of people. And sometimes they're doing it just because they're panicked themselves. But I think that that happens quite a bit when somebody decides to leave the church, that maybe they start they're poking a bear.
Yeah.
Right.
That happens.
Or we, as people who have decided to remain in the church and active, we poke a bear.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Somebody's faith is different. Right.
Yep.
So those conversations can be adversarial as well. And so here's the thing. Do you engage? Do you ignore? Do you defend? Do you try and teach in that moment? Do you correct misconceptions? Do you stay silent? What do you do? That's what we want to talk about.
Okay. Fair. Okay. I like this.
So let's start with a scenario, and then we can expand the principles that we talk about to a whole variety of different scenarios, some of them that we've just named. The first one. So you decide that you're going to post something meaningful online, and you decide that you're going to, in essence, share your testimony. Sure. And somebody responds in the chat with an adversarial comment that's clearly misinformed. Okay. What do you do? It's not accurate. What do you do? So tell me, you, Kevin Jones, as a teacher, and let me define something really quickly. Actually, I don't want to define it. Let me just kind of give a little bit of context. Remember how I said a little bit earlier that, all of these things are teaching moments,
Yes.
right? I think that we sometimes define a teacher as a person who's disseminating information or teaching something new, or I'm not articulating this very well, but basically we think that we have something to share.
Yeah.
And I want to reframe how we're thinking about it just a little bit, because I think that you are a teacher in those moments by how you choose to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Actions
Agreed.
speak louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
And in these situations, that is more true than like in a lot of situations, that your chosen response communicates way more than maybe the words that you choose. So that being said, we are all teachers in these scenarios. Is that a fair enough kind of reframe?
Yes.
Okay. So teachers, what is your instinct? If you've posted something, it was meaningful to you, it was heartfelt, somebody responds with something that's super like rude and totally inaccurate. Tell me what your instinct is.
I have a default for this.
I'd like to hear it.
My default is to say along the line, depending on the comment, etc., something along the lines of either that's not quite right, or that's not true, or I have a different view, or whatever it may be. And then say, if you're willing, I'd love to have a conversation with you about that.
Okay. I like that.
So and not fight it there.
Okay. Not fight it there. So what you do is you actually invite them to have a conversation.
Correct.
Somewhere else.
Yep.
So I think what I hear you saying is that online is probably not a productive place to engage in this type of dialogue, right?
I have read thousands of comments like this, literally thousands of comments. And I can't think of one where it was ever productive.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's not a conversation. It's grenade, throw back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's, and like you said earlier, and I love this, they will say, and hopefully it's not we, but we too may say things online in text that we can just throw out there that we would never do in purpose. I'm sorry, in person.
You mean?
We would never say it in person. And so it's unrealistic. It's not having a true conversation. It may look like a conversation. It may have the skin of a conversation, but the guts aren't there. There's nothing around those kind of interactions that is a true conversation.
Right. So it is not a conversation. Right. So what if something like this though is happening in person and not online? So you're
I say the same thing,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So why though? What's the psychology of that? Like, what is happening when someone is like kind of tossing these grenades at you and you want to say, well, that's not true. Remember, you said you kind of gave a list of your default responses, which some of them were like correcting responses, right? You're saying that's not true. That's not accurate. Or, I see it differently, which is kind of a polite way of saying, you're wrong. Or I have or I just have a different paradigm is what you're actually trying to say. But a little bit, they're going to take it as, really?
Correcting.
Yeah. So why is that, like, from a psychological perspective, why is that not going to be a conversation in the truest sense?
Are you saying if I say that and then we keep going right there, or? Yeah.
Like, do you think you can actually so if somebody drops a grenade, right? Can you actually have this, if you go to correct them immediately, are you going to end up in a real conversation, or is it going to end up contentious? Where's it going to go?
So, okay, let me back up. One of the reasons I say that isn't true, or I don't see it that way, or I have a different viewpoint or whatever, is to show that it's because you're having this conversation in front of others, right?
Oh, okay. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
Oh,
whether
online.
it's
Yes, you are
online,
online.
right?
100%.
Or a lot of times those kind of comments, now that you say this, and I had never thought of this before, almost never happen one-on-one.
Like
Because
sometimes they happen in a room
it's
full of people.
rude. Yes. Because
Yeah.
a lot of those are completely rude one-on-one. But if you have other people, you have that buffer, that shield that other people are around. And so people are more likely to say things with other people around like that. Okay. So they can throw
That's
that out.
interesting. I thought of that.
So what I do is I let them know that either, that's not correct, or that I see it a different way. And basically that lets everyone else know that I know what I believe. I'm firm in this, but now isn't the time to have the conversation. If you'd like to have it another time, I would be more than happy to share at least how I view it or whatever it is, right? And that way it's not contentious. That way, when you do get one-on-one, you know that it's not going to be the same kind of conversation. It's not going to be the grenade launching conversations. Almost never will it be. But that there's just about no productive movement that can happen. It's going to be contentious if you try to do it. Let's say that.
Yes. So I don't know that I totally agree with you that it's not going to be contentious when it happens one-on-one, that it's not, because I do think that sometimes people who feel really, really strongly about something are so anxious to be heard that they will drop grenades and say things really directly because they have so much emotion about it.
Right.
Right.
So let me throw this out real quickly. When I say one-on-one, I pictured face-to-face.
Yes, I pictured that too when you said one-on-one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost never has that turned into a face-to-face contentious thing for me. Now, it has turned into like on the phone, it can still be contentious because they're still buffered, they're still removed, but one-on-one, I have found that it almost never has happened. But that's my experience, at least.
Which is phenomenal, right? And I think like that's my experience for the most part as well, but that's not what I'm hearing some people say when they talk about, things that are happening with their kids, for example, who
Sure.
are engaging with them, right? Like
Right.
sometimes it's, mom and dad, for example, sitting down with a kid and and I guess that is still in front of another person. But I talked to a couple the other day that was really interesting. They were talking about their daughter who decided to leave the church. And he's like, I still can't figure out why. He's like, I still can't get to the bottom of it because every time we go to talk about it, like she's dropping bombs, but they're not like, it's not a conversation. We're not really able to dialogue about it. And I mean, the psychology behind that, as simple as it sounds, and this is something that I've said before on this, but it goes back to this principle that when people are super emotional about something, they are deaf. Like they are incapable of hearing what it is that you have to say. So you have a correction. That's wonderful. You have more accurate information. That's wonderful. But you can start yelling that accurate information in their face and they're still not going to hear it because their ears are closed.
Right.
And that's like figuratively speaking.
Now,
they feel so, and part of this comes from a need sometimes to justify how you feel because of insecurity that you actually have about what you're thinking. Sometimes you get more outraged or more impassioned when you're trying to figure something out for yourself. Confidence, actually, the fruit of it is humility. When you feel settled,
you're right.
And when like you are calm and you are humble, it's when you're a little bit insecure that you get more anxious. And so part of what you can kind of read, and I'm not suggesting that people who have left the church are insecure in their beliefs at all. That's not at all what I'm suggesting. That would be so disrespectful. But what I'm suggesting is that when people are dropping bombs and grenades, there is a strong feeling behind it.
Yep.
And sometimes it's not actually about the grenade itself, what they've bombed you with.
Here, let me give you a quick example of this.
Yeah.
I was talking with an extended family member who said, you and your church hate people who are gay.
Right.
And I'm like, no, Okay, I mean,
No,
okay,
no.
no, but I'm curious, and I found out some of why he was thinking this way. His daughter
Yeah.
is gay, and
Yeah.
so he was saying, "You hate my daughter," and I said, "Hold on, have you ever seen us act in a way that is disrespectful or rude to your daughter? No. Have you ever seen us do anything that is not loving toward your daughter? No. Have you ever heard us talk in a way that is ever
Right.
unloving to your daughter? No. Then how do we hate your daughter? Well, you just do, because I mean, and it was an emotional thing. He couldn't see past the logic of, no, we actually, that's not how we feel.
Like
It was that
in the
emotion.
logic of it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Wait,
Right.
hold on. There's no
Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah. He couldn't see the dichotomy. It was just, no, you do, because of this is the way I believe about something.
Yeah.
And that was really difficult. That was really, and so here is I gave you my default response, but
Hmm.
my next response, I would say, is to check myself and say, what is my purpose, or what is my role here?
Okay. Pause.
Okay. I'm not going to
Yes.
go further. Okay.
What is my role here is exactly what I want to get at.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
That's the right question. So tell me what you would say your role is not first, and then tell me what you think your role is.
Good question. I like that. I would say that my role is not to show them how wrong they are.
Okay. To prove them wrong,
Right.
to
That's
win an
one.
argument.
Right. My role is not to let things get contentious. Right.
Okay.
I know that's kind of a double negative in a way, but
I got you. I'm tracking.
I don't want to be, my role is not to make it contentious, I guess. Yeah. Just
Okay.
overall.
So here's the thing though, like as a member missionary, do you feel like your role is to defend the church?
You can do both.
What do you mean you can do both?
I think
Like
we
what?
need to do both. I think we need to
Okay.
defend, yet not be contentious.
Okay. Okay. So what I hear you saying is that we can do some of the things that you just listed that we're not supposed to do, right? That we can correct, that we can, defend the church, but we can do it in a way that's not contentious. So what is your highest priority in that moment?
My highest priority is the relationship with that person.
Okay. Perfect. So tell me, when you think about the relationship with that person, tell me what in that interaction, then your role as a teacher, or like what should your focus be?
Or as a parent,
The
or whatever.
relationship,
Yep.
whatever.
Relationship.
General.
So when I think, what is my role? Almost always, if it starts turning toward contention, this is what I think for myself. And I don't know whether this is right or wrong, or other people should even think this at all. But I think, what is my role? And my role is just to love.
Okay. I love that.
Because the contention, if I get contentious, that does not show love. And until they are ready to learn, until they want to learn the actual truth of something, or something how I feel, if they're not ready, then they're not ready. And that's okay. I'm just going to love them until they are ready.
Right. Okay. So if your highest priority is to love them, let's break that down a little bit into what that interaction then ends up being. Because I think that we sometimes think that we need to stand up for our beliefs, that we need to defend the church, that we need to correct misconceptions,
No.
that we need to help people better understand. Like, we think we are teachers of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I mean, we shake our heads here as though, well, duh, of course that's not our main goal. But I want you to think about your behavior in those interactions, right? I think that most of us have taken the bait, myself included.
I have
taken the bait
plenty of times. Yes.
Right. And so this is an invitation to shift our goal from, defending, et cetera, to loving, which means that you are working to give responses or ask questions or continue the conversation in a way that invites the Spirit and helps people come closer to Christ.
Yeah.
and strengthens the relationship.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to filter every response that comes into your mind through that. Is this going to do those things? Is the way that I react right now going to help invite the spirit in here? And if it's not, then like wrong response.
Right.
Is this going to help strengthen the relationship? If it's not, wrong response. And when I talk about these moments being teaching moments and having nothing to do with the content of your answer, what I'm really talking about is this going to help people come closer to Christ by observing you following his example?
I like that.
Right? So I was thinking a little bit about that. And I was thinking a little bit about this whole idea that, in 3rd Nephi, it says contention is of the devil. And so we really, just to really kind of juxtapose the two things, we are told to stand up for what we believe in. You can just see the problem, right? All of these things, and we feel emotion. We feel strongly about something. And so that is a righteous desire. And we need to pull back from that, because the higher and I think that what we're called to do in these moments is actually way, way dang harder.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Let's reframe it. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. If we are talking about what we can do to invite the spirit, not win, it's going to look a little bit different. And so here are 3 things that I thought of. Can we be peaceful without being passive, right?
Yes.
Can we be loving without being vague or placating? Because I think that
Good.
sometimes
That's
when we're
good.
like, oh, I want to get
Yeah.
the loving response, so I got to sugarcoat it. I got to make it sound better. I got to make it easier pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to conversations, I have found myself like muting. I think that's the right word, or kind of
Sure.
downgrading the clarity of conversations,
Yeah.
especially when it
Watering
comes to
down.
conversations about watering down. That's the word, about sexuality and gender,
Mm-hmm.
because they're so sensitive. That's a temptation for sure.
Sure.
And can we also be truthful without being reactive or defensive? And I think we can.
I think so.
What I want to do something really quickly. I want to play a little video clip that I came across on Instagram today. And Joseph Grenny is one of my heroes. He is one of the authors of Crucial Conversations, but he didn't just author a book about it. His lived experience with it has been profoundly inspiring to me. And he specifically has been very open about his experience with a son who struggled with addiction and was on the streets for a time, and some of the difficulty of those conversations that he's had. And he talks about how many people in his family have left the church, and just how adversarial and challenging that can be. And he just makes some really insightful comments in this short video clip that I want us to listen to. And then I want us to kind of go through some of the doctrines related to the principles that he's kind of just introducing. Fair?
Very good. Okay.
Let's do it. Let's watch it.
The saddest part of our research is that we found that the higher the devoutness of the person engaged in the conversation, the lower the likelihood of it going well. And that ought to shake us. The very people that I ought to be able to come to and to have some sort of a healthy conversation with, I instead walk away feeling judged or berated or suspected or all sorts of negative outcomes. Now, they kind of feel like that one of their missions, their calls in that moment is to fix this too. And coming in with that motive is the beginning of destruction. That's where all of the problems begin. So the question we asked was, are there any conversations that go well, and what can we learn from those?
Yeah.
We were looking for what we called positive deviants, and we found this small subpopulation that were church leaders, that were parents, that were friends, or were others, where the conversation ended up with a stronger relationship, not with the person who's still connected to the church apologizing for their beliefs, not watering down their commitment to the church, but still being able to have a robust conversation that strengthened the relationship. And that's what we feel like is so important to share.
Okay. What do you think of that? What are your reactions to some of what he said?
I want to be in that small percentage.
I know you want to be a positive deviant, right? That doesn't
I would
sound
like
right.
to be. but
Yeah,
yeah.
that didn't sound quite right. So let's look a little bit to the scriptures. Now, mind you, in Crucial Conversations, there are 1,000 principles. We've touched on some of them before in different episodes, but I want to talk more about kind of the example that Christ set and some of the principles within that in our discussion today, like as we kind of talk about, well, how the heck do we do what
Okay.
he is suggesting, right?
Okay.
So hard.
Yes.
Number one has to do with your focus, right? Remember what he said? If your focus is on fixing, you're going to blow it up.
Right. Right.
So, what is our focus on, right? It's on inviting the Spirit to the conversation, strengthening the relationship, helping people come closer to Christ.
Right.
So, let's bust out our scriptures.
I'm looking, but
What?
Give
Hit
me.
you? Is that what you said? Okay. Why don't you go to Matthew 26?
Okay.
And we're going to look at verses 59 through 63. Do you offhand know the context for this, or do you want me to kind of
I don't.
give it to you real quick?
Give it
Okay,
to me.
so this is Christ, right? And he is being falsely accused. He is being subject to public humiliation. And let's see what his reaction is. Because think about it. Think about the conversation we started with about an online comment where you have just said something and then all of a sudden somebody is like slandering you because of it. Are we falsely accused about what we believe sometimes? Yeah. Are people making comments to try and humiliate us sometimes? Yeah. And so what is sometimes the right response? Go ahead, if you will, read those verses 59 through 63.
Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Jesus to put him to death, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet they found none. At the last came 2 false witnesses and said, This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days. And the high priest rose and said unto him, Answerest thou nothing? What is it which these witnesses against thee? But Jesus held his peace. And the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living God, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God.
Okay. So now pause there, and then we're going to read one more verse. What do you see him do?
Jesus? He just listened. He didn't respond.
He didn't respond. Sometimes it is not appropriate to engage.
Good.
Right? They were looking for evidence to accuse him. And sometimes people are going to do that. They're going to and sometimes when you don't engage at first, they're going to be mad and they're going to be like, oh, well, let's get more. Let's get more of our friends to tell you how wrong you are or whatever, But he recognizes when it's going to be productive and when it's not. And I think that that's a really important thing for us to also be willing to recognize. People, when they need emotional air, when they are feeling super amped up about something, their ears are closed, right? And so they aren't able to hear him speaking in that moment, and defending each point that they were making as they were making it would have landed on deaf ears and probably raised the level of emotion in that space altogether.
Right.
So I want you to think about somebody who is sitting in that room observing that. Think about what that could teach without saying a word. If you are that person who is being falsely accused and you are able to just not lash back, just simply not lashing back can be teaching. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any thoughts or anything you want to?
Yeah, I kind of see this visually as me sitting here and a fly comes around, just kind of, right? It's kind of bothersome, but it's like, you are like the least amount of thing that I need to worry about. And that fly may, have it in its brain, I'm just going to take him down and I'm going to come after him and I'm going to go get him. And I'm like, whatever. And that's kind of.
I felt that way. I said, I wish it felt that way. I wish it was like a little, like Mr. Miyagi moment where you're like, I get you with my chopsticks, little stupid fly.
Right.
But when you're sitting in the middle of that, it does not feel like an annoying little fly.
No.
It feels like it's going to crush you.
Well, it depends. it can feel like that. But then again, what is our focus? If we're focused on loving them, then they're coming at us with all these things. And those darts that you're throwing at me actually don't hurt. And that's, you're trying a whole bunch of stuff, buddy, that isn't working. And that's kind of how I visually see it. You're throwing the stuff at me, but it's bouncing off and it really doesn't matter because that's not what matters. So.
Yeah. And but I'm pushing just a little bit because I'm thinking about a teenager who is saying they don't have thick skin like this yet. Right. But the point that you made, I think, is really, really important, which is, what is their goal? If we can help our kids recognize that their goal is not to prove everyone wrong.
Right.
Their goal is not to defend the church. Because I think that so much of what we say culturally about missionary work makes them think that they need to stand up and be a warrior. And we define being a warrior as sometimes like actually fighting back.
Right.
And meekness is strength in this case.
So I gotta share this. Yeah, I gotta share this. This is funny. Last night we were watching Yellowstone. We have VidAngel, thankfully, because there's a lot of trash on that. But we were watching, I think it was like the 3rd episode in season 1 of Yellowstone. And it's brother and sister, they go into a barn, they're just going to fight it out. And she just comes up to him and goes, bam, 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 and hits him. And she's like, be a man, be a man. And he finally turns around and goes, bam, and knocks her down to the ground with one punch. And he goes, how's that for being a man? And she looks at him and says, being a man, you would have walked away.
Oh.
So, right, bam, 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 bam. And if he had just turned around and walked away, that would have been a better response, the more correct response. Is when he went back at her, right? And thought, okay, I'm doing it. I'm going to defend myself. When it wasn't, that turned out to be the wrong thing in the end. And that's kind of how I feel like we can have all these darts thrown at us. And then how are we going to respond? Are we going to, and sometimes it's not walk away. Sometimes it is, like in this circumstance, Jesus is not walking away, but he's figuratively walking away by not saying anything. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's okay to say something.
Right. Right. But okay. So here's the problem. So think about, when you just said that example, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect example, because I think that sometimes in our mind, while we're sitting there, we're preparing the KO statement, like the knockout statement. Like in our minds, we're thinking, I'm not going to talk, but I'm going to prepare the best, like take them out, take down their rhetoric statement in my mind.
Drop the mic.
Drop the bomb. Pew! And it's going to be awesome. But if that's our focus, are we actually going to accomplish our goal? Mm-hmm. It's not the knockout statement that wins. It's not about winning.
Right.
So sometimes it's going to be appropriate. Let's talk about some scenarios where it is appropriate, because we talked about the fact that, can we be loving and not placate? Can we, have these conversations and still preserve the relationship? Well, Christ doesn't mince words. Clear is kind. And he's a great example of that. So let's talk about some of those scenarios.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have to interject here real quickly.
Interject.
Sorry. You said the point is not to win. And I love that perspective, because one of the perspectives that we can take in this is that they are playing one game, you are playing another game. You're not playing the same game at all, right? And then it comes down to, are they going to play their game so well that you get sucked into their rules and you start playing their game? Or do you just keep playing your game until they get sucked into your game, into your rules?
I love that. Right? I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me see if I can. Oh, I have this quote about it. Okay, here. I think that this was it. It's about, no, it's not perfect, but so I'm thinking of the talk that President Nelson gave about peacemaking, right? And you're talking about, are you going to get sucked into their rules, or are they almost, because of your example, going to get sucked into yours?
Right.
And he has this quote about meeting contention with contention, and just what that does. That's an example of you getting sucked in.
Right. To play their
rules,
game.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if I have it right here. Contention drives away the spirit every time. Contention reinforces the false notion that confrontation is the way to resolve differences.
There you go.
Like the idea that if you meet it head on, that you'll be able to get through it or past it. And that's you playing to their rules versus the opposite.
Right.
That's a really great point. I like how you described that.
The whole game analogy, I've used this in so many different parts of my life, is we're all playing different games. It's just, I mean, if everyone's playing one game and you don't play by that game, sometimes you just win by not playing that game.
Right.
Because
that's a great point.
Because they can't suck you into that. You're off doing something different, which is a higher, nobler cause. And they can be upset or do whatever they want to, but you're just going to play your game. And if they want to come join you in that, great. But if not, you don't have to get sucked in.
Right. I mean, this is really kind of an instructive thing when it comes to relationships, especially with teenagers, right? When you talk about, not getting sucked into the gossip, not getting sucked into so that principle applies in so many different settings. It's a great one. Okay, so let's go really quickly to this idea of the rich young ruler for just a second, or to the scriptures about. So Mark chapter 10, and we're just looking at verses 17 through 22. And it's really cool because this rich young ruler comes to Christ and he's got a question, right? He's like, what do I need to do? I'm so anxious. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Right. Christ does ask him a whole bunch of questions. They talk a little bit about truths and commandments, but there's one line in here, and this is the relationship line, and it's verse 21. Okay, what's the relationship line? Read it, Kev.
Then Jesus, beholding him, loved him.
Right. Okay. So what does it mean to behold someone in this verse, do you think?
Oh, I'd love to go to the Greek on this one. I don't know.
Why don't you?
That would be really interesting.
I thought you had it. I thought you had it written down. I do not have it witness. Okay.
No.
Like, what does it mean to behold? And you know what? Actually, I did go and look this up with other biblical translations, and they don't use the word behold.
What do they use?
Let me go. I think it was like see, or Jesus just loving him.
Okay.
Like
because obviously Jesus is looking at him and beholding him with his eyes. This has got to be something deeper than a visual whatever.
I mean, I can tell you how I view it. And let me see what some of the other translations, the word that they used. Hold on. 10:17. That's what I'm getting to. Looking at the man.
Looking at the
man.
That's all. Okay.
Looking at the man. Jesus felt genuine love for him, is how it says it in the NLT. Looking at the man. So that implies just like a looking at him. But then the part is that he loved him, right? Jesus looked at him and loved him is in the NIV. What's the ESV say? 17, 20. Oh gosh, what verse?
I love that we have these tools, by the way. I love that.
I know.
What was it? Mark what?
Mark 10.
Mark 10.
And then it's 17 through 22 kind of does the story. And Jesus looked around. Oh, no, that's not it. That's the wrong one. That's verse 23. 20. And Jesus looking at him, loved him and said to him, okay, let me tell you what I think I see in this.
Okay.
Here's the problem. We lose sight of who the person is that we're talking to.
Yeah.
And this is the point that I wanted to make. I want to think about like when it's on social media and we don't even know them, how can you look at them and love them first?
Right.
Like, don't engage, right? But what about when it's your family member? What about when it is somebody that you respect? What about when it's your friends? Like, don't forget who you are having a conversation with and the relationship that you want to have with them.
Right.
And the cool thing is that I want you to think about how it must have felt for this man who like feels like Christ, you see me, you know me. And then he taught this truth, and the truth, it landed. Like it was kind of painful.
Right.
Right. But it landed. And I think that people, when they feel loved by you, then you can say things and you can correct things and you can at some point, not right then when they're
not
dropping
even
and
right
throwing
then,
grenades
yes,
and all that. right?
Yeah.
But that's another point is timing. Like
Yeah.
that's a huge point
Yep.
is the timing. But in that interaction, the most instructive part is that you take the time to see them, that you remember who you're talking to, and
Mm-hmm.
your intention will come across in what you respond with. And I think
Right.
that that is hugely important because sometimes we forget. Like
Mm-hmm.
we get so caught up in content that we neglect to acknowledge the conditions deteriorating. And we're so focused on what we're going to say and what they're saying that we forget the relationship.
Yeah.
Fair?
I love that.
Okay, let's do just a couple more principles really quickly. I realize that we're kind of going long, and I don't want to go too long. So, John, chapter 8, verses 1 through 11 is about the woman taken in adultery. And we're
Mm-hmm.
very familiar with this. And I want you to think about like, you've got all of these people that are accusing this woman. And that's part of part of what's instructive. I've never really thought about it this way, but it would have been really easy for Jesus to bandwagon, right? To jump onto that and be like, you're right. What she did was wrong. And kind of jump in and shame her in the way that he responded in order to teach a principle. Clarify truth in a way that actually ends up, putting her down. I mean, those would all be pretty natural responses
Mm-hmm.
to this, dramatic confession that happens in that instance. And I think that had he been confrontational with her, a different lesson would have been learned by all of those that were observing. Is that the right lesson?
Right.
So what is the lesson instead? What did Christ do? Did he just say, you're right. What you did wasn't wrong. It's fine. Like, did he sugarcoat? Did he what was instructive about this experience?
To whom? To the people around or to
To
her?
all of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
I love in the story when he has the phrase of basically he's asking a question is the way I see this. He says, "He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone at her," saying, "Are any of you not guilty yourselves of something?
Right.
And if you're not
Right.
guilty of anything, go ahead and do it." But
Right.
yeah. And that just helps them check their self. He again, I feel like instead of jumping on the bandwagon or whatever, he played it a different game.
Yeah.
He played it
Different
by his
game
own
entirely.
rules. Right.
Right.
And change the game. And I think Jesus does this so many times where he just changes the game. And people walk away going, "Oh, that is a better way to look at it." Or that is a better way to understand what's going on.
Right. Okay. So now take and compare that actually with the woman at the well thing where she's also got some things going on. She's made some mistakes, right?
Yep.
And he's going to be super instructed with this woman here. He taught her more by not shaming and by not pointing out her faults than he would have by saying, okay, let's list them. Let's discuss them. How open and receptive do you think her heart is going to be when she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed.
Right.
This is the worst. Versus through what he did. Right. And then does it lead her closer to Christ? Heck to the yes. It leads her to repentance. And so now I started thinking a little bit about the woman at the well analogy. I mean, he's saying, yeah, you've had 5 husbands and, this has happened and this has happened. And he's aware, but he's not pointing it out and he's not condemning
Accusing
and he's not even
right,
correcting.
Right.
But he is teaching and
Yes.
he eases into teaching. He doesn't start teaching until she's ready for it.
That I think is a huge key right there.
Who? Right.
I mean, if people aren't ready, if they don't want to learn, why are we trying to teach them? Because it won't land. They won't get it. You have to wait until they are ready.
And that's kind of the point that I think I want to take out of some of this is that you are you have to make sure that you are speaking truth at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And at the right time, 99% of the time is not during that emotional episode of confrontation.
Right.
Right. And so that is another one that I feel like we take the bait so often. And if we can kind of reframe and think there will be an opportunity for this and be patient enough to wait for that opportunity. Like you think about how instructive we talked about it is when, or how instructive it can be, like we talked about earlier, to not respond in a moment of heat and emotion and to not necessarily try and, correct when that would be your natural reaction. Well, I would be so bold as to suggest that people are going to be way more suggestive, way more willing to listen to what you have to say later if they observe you responding with confidence and humility in the heated moment. Like, I think
agree.
that actually inspires receptivity.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So that's a tough one, a really tough one, but I think it's true. So like, let's take now, we've looked at social media. We've talked a little bit about how this applies to social media, how it applies to missionary work, how it applies to family dynamics. And when you are caught up in the emotion of something like this, how difficult it will be to actually respond in the right way. So I have 3 questions that we can ask ourselves, and this will kind of be our little simple tool, our simple 3-question filter.
Good.
That we can kind of run our own reactions through. And so when you find yourself tempted to react in that moment, number 1 question is, will this invite or protect the spirit? Like, is this going to do what we want it to do in that regard? The second is, will it strengthen the relationship? And the third is this person open, or are they just arguing? And if we can kind of go through those 3 questions, I think that we will be more inclined to have a response that is appropriate for the moment, rather than engaging in an unproductive conversation about something that we feel very strongly about, right? And we have every reason to want to defend. We just have to consider when to do that.
Right.
And usually in the heat of the moment is not that time.
Usually
What
not.
What other thoughts do you have? And then I have a quote that I'll share to kind of wrap us up.
So you talk about the timing, talk about when not to. I just want to mention that sometimes there is never a time. That time will not happen. Right. And sometimes, unfortunately, that may be with a family member when the time is not, it never comes up for you to verbally defend and say, okay, now's the time for me to jump in and teach the truth. And this is the way, right? It may not happen. But that does not mean, I think a lot of times we have someone come against us and I need to defend, right? We forget that we are one soldier in a huge army. We're not even the general, right? We are one soldier. Just because we didn't say something right then doesn't mean that at another time someone else will say something that will help defend and help teach. It can happen other places. We may not be the right person to do that ever for a particular person. And we have to be okay with that. Because we've got this other huge army of God that can help out as well.
Well, and I love that you just pointed that out. I think that we have to be careful not to use that as an excuse to not, just be like, I don't want to have an uncomfortable conversation. And so I'm excusing myself and letting myself off the hook. But what you're saying is absolutely true. Maybe that's not our job. Like, maybe we have a different role. I think that we get so hung up on, like, because we're fearful, we're afraid, or we're super motivated and impassioned, or as a missionary, we feel like this is our job. I don't want to let Jesus down. You know what I mean? And all of those things are righteous desires. Like, it's not that you are doing something that you shouldn't, or having a desire that you shouldn't have. But I think that we need to remember that we're playing the long game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And if we
Yes.
never have that opportunity, it doesn't mean that we failed as a parent or failed as a friend or failed as a missionary. In fact, we may have done the opposite, and success may need to be redefined completely. And the moment that you didn't respond, the moment that you didn't go to contention, the moment that you chose to just stand confidently and not say a word, therein is your victory. Like that you become a stronger warrior for Jesus Christ in behaving the way that he would, not in making sure that you say the right words to convince somebody that they're not right.
Yes.
And I think that we just have to redefine success. And remember, again, we are playing the long game. We are one soldier in a mighty army, and our job might be different than we think it is. And so we've got to make sure that we remember that. Okay. And the other thing is, like, we're not doing this alone either. I don't think that our natural man instincts just go away because we will them away. And we're like, no, I'm going to do better. And I'm going to focus on making sure the spirit stays. I'm not suggesting it's that simple. However, I do think that, like, we need to have the spirit with us if we're going to be able to do that effectively. This is where the enabling power of the atonement comes in and gives us strength beyond our own capacities to be able to do things that require us to subdue the natural man and pull out the saint within us or the little child in our submission within us, because this is not going to come naturally to any of us. And so, like, there's this quote I just loved. It's President Nelson. He said, charity is the antidote to contention. Charity is the pure love of Christ, right? Being able to see people as Christ sees them, having that same level of love where we are beholding them and loving them, right?
Yeah.
Charity is the spiritual gift. That's Elder Bednar's talk from this conference. The spiritual gift that helps us to cast out our natural feelings of anger. Charity allows us to demonstrate patience, kindness, and even long suffering, especially when it feels like we aren't getting the opportunity to make our point.
Right.
Right. So,
you mentioned trying to have the spirit with us, and you got to have the spirit with us. Right. And I think sometimes we try to force the spirit to be there.
Right.
And okay, I'm going to be there, and then I'm going to teach. And I got to bring the spirit in, right? This is my interpretation and my thoughts only. But I think the spirit sometimes will purposefully withdraw to say, you aren't the one, or this isn't the time. And remember the scripture in Doctrine and Covenants, if you don't have the spirit, you should not teach. And that's always confused me, because if I am supposed to teach a class, and if I don't feel like I have the spirit in abundance right now, am I supposed to just walk out and say, sorry guys, I don't have the spirit. Class dismissed, we're out, right? No. Yeah. But I think it lends, that scripture especially lends toward a situation like this. If you don't have the spirit, whether it's because of me or because the spirit is saying, no, this isn't the time, I'm not going to give that to you right now because they're not ready for it, or it needs to be someone else, right?
Yeah.
Then don't teach.
Don't teach. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
So it's not just us trying to will the spirit. Let the spirit actually do its job. Right.
Instead of trying to force it. Like, that is a really, really great point. I love that. Here's a great quote. Listen to this.
Okay.
And this is, if I'm being honest, this is ChatGPT, because I was like,
you're quoting ChatGPT. That's great. Elder ChatGPT. Yes.
This summary of what it is that we're talking about right now, I typed in a few of my ideas, and this phrase was one of the phrases, like a summary phrase, that got spit out in the midst of all of, like, these other things. Like, because I was asking for, hey, help me find a couple verses, blah, blah, blah. But listen to this.
Okay.
Christ never traded truth for peace, but he also never sacrificed peace to prove truth.
Good job, Chad.
Like the latter part of that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he never sacrificed peace to prove truth. So he never traded truth for peace. Like, he was not saying, oh, we're going to dial it down just to keep everybody happy and keep things peaceful between us. That wasn't what he did. It was okay if what he spoke about ruffled feathers sometimes, right? But he wasn't creating contention. He never sacrificed peace to prove truth. Like, he would wait.
Yeah.
He would wait until the Spirit could be there and until people could be receptive to be able to do that. Now, that's not doctrine according to ChatGPT. It was just kind of a food for thought thing for me, because I started thinking about how often in the name of truth, I compromise the relationship, or I compromise having the Spirit be part of that.
Sure.
And like, I've done it. I've fallen trapped to that. So I've fallen victim to that little, too many times.
Yep. Way too
and
many.
I just think that that's a really great gut check, that the relationship and having the Spirit there is way more important than making your point.
So let me ask you, I was thinking of, well, let me just ask, what can we do to put that situational awareness in to have that check at that time?
I really do think it's about just kind of okay, so we know that when we're feeling emotional and, kind of amped up about something, that the blood is pumping away from our brain. And so part of what we're doing is we have to give ourselves kind of a tool that re-engages our brain. And so those 3 questions that I listed, is what I'm talking about going to invite the Spirit? Is it going to be good for the relationship? And is the person open or arguing? Like, is this the right time, basically? Those 3 questions are taking the emotion and like putting a little bit more blood back to your brain just by simply asking yourself to think about something, so that you can actually maybe figure out what was the phrase that you used, so that you can actually do this effectively. And so the invitation is to try it in one of your relationships. You start to feel emotional about something, go look at social media for 5 seconds and practice. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to find something that's going to get your blood boiling. It's not going to be hard to find.
Yep. In those questions, I love those questions a lot. I think we can get to the last one. And if we have that emotion, we could be pumped up to say, is it the right time? No, but dang it. When is the right time? It's got to be now. I'm going to do it, and go after it, right? And then your emotion, then it just takes over, and you're gone, right? And you just ruin the whole thing. It reminds me of a video I saw recently of a guy who has a photographic memory, and he'd go into casinos and he just won bazillions of dollars, and they kind of said, you can't do that anymore. And so he said, okay, I won't play blackjack or whatever it was. I'll go play a different game. And he totally crushed that. He crushed the next game. And so, what's his name? Wynn, Wynn, who owns Wynn Casinos.
Oh yeah.
Right. He brought this guy in and said, will you please teach this to other people, your method of winning? And he goes, wait a minute. You want me to teach my method of how to whip your casinos and go teach them how to do this? And he said, please go do this. Please teach other people, regular people, how to do this. And he goes, why would you ever want me to do that? And he said, because you have a system that you stick to that if it works, you win. The problem is no one else will ever stick to the system. They'll think, oh, I can go do it. And they'll go in a whole bunch of times thinking I'm going to win. And then they get caught off guard with the emotion and their intuition and their luck. And they start going off script, and they're just going to wind up spending more money with us because they think they can get it, but they're going to get distracted.
So like the system gives them confidence.
The system, you have to go through the whole system, like your questions, right? You have to go through each of those questions. But if you get to the last question, is it the right time? No, but darn it, I'm going to make, and then you're punched through it, then you just ruined it all. So you have to go through the system. You have to stick with it. Yeah.
That's a great point. Like, don't get cocky and go off script. Don't think like you have to do all three.
Yeah.
That's a
you do.
great story. I love it.
Yeah.
We just talked about gambling. How fun.
Yeah. I like to do that every now and then just for the fun of it.
I love it. I love it.
Okay. Your takeaway, the invitation for everyone. Those 3 questions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, like I said, go test yourself a little bit if you need to.
Yeah. Do you think someone could just go online and read a comment and then try to test? I mean, you think that would be a good way to do it?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you. So it's really interesting. Just as we wrap up, sorry, I'll tell you this really quickly. Part of what we're brainstorming with social media, right? I talked about that in my calling. We're having a meeting tonight and we're brainstorming through, is there an opportunity to teach? And when is the right time? And is it in response to a specific question or a specific comment, or is it later? And should we avoid the questions? Should we hide them and avoid it? No. And so some of what we're talking about is what are some things that we could do to proactively answer these questions or respond to these in the right way and at the right moment. So we're not just talking about like, let's default to hiding everything. We don't want to sweep stuff under the rug. So what's the right way to do it? When is the right time? And so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to ask ourselves these 3 questions about every one of those comments that comes in. And, I'll let you know how it goes if you let me know how it goes for you.
Good. We're going to practice what we preach here. I like it. As we should.
Yep.
Great.
As we
Thanks
should.
for watching, everyone. Now go practice, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Julie. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Teaching Restored. Now, we want you to know that there's more than just this podcast, more than just the discussions that Julie and I have with each other or with other guests that come in. There's a lot more. Let me give you a few things that where we just expand this reach. Number 1, there's a community where you can go online and learn from a lot of others and even give ideas yourself. And that is found if you go to leadingsaints.org or teachingrestored.com and look at the community link there. That'll take you to a whole community. And we are a part of the Leading Saints community there, where we talk about, among other things, how to be better gospel teachers. So I would highly recommend you go there. We have some incredible discussions, some real passionate discussions of ideas and different things that we can do to be better gospel teachers. And also we have all of our socials. If you haven't been there, go connect up. We bring in other people's posts that you may not have seen that have great ideas, snippets from General Conference, and just ideas that don't take an hour podcast. They're a lot shorter that we just want to throw out of some good ideas. And then if you would, of course, please pay it forward. Share it with other gospel teachers. That way we can all become more converted, more gospel-centered, and just better teachers of the gospel of Jesus Christ overall. Thanks for joining us in this journey. The team here at Teaching Restored, we so appreciate it. And we love what we do. And this has been a wonderful journey for us. And we're excited about where this is still going. We have more plans to expand the content and expand things out for you. So stay tuned and we'll see you around. Thanks for joining us.